Hi, welcome to the Russ and Vince Courtside Podcast. I'm your host, Vince. Before we go into the video, please hit that like and subscribe button down below if you enjoy our videos. Let's get right into it.
What's good? Real Talk Russ and Vince podcast. I'm your host, Vincent Daniels, here, ready to talk some basketball, man. Joining us today is our co host, Ruslan. How are we doing, my guy?
I'm feeling good, Vince. It's time to talk about this game tonight. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed. We were in for a treat for both games Pacers, Cavs, and then obviously the one we're covering right now, Warriors, uh, going on a road game today to go up against Minnesota. Definitely a interesting game to say the least. Now, of course, this is a road game for the Warriors. The Warriors just came from playing a game seven just 2 days prior, not even a full 48 hours against the Houston Rockets. During this time, they were able to handle the Rockets very well. But at the same time, one would argue once again, shouldn't even gotten to a game seven. So the question that we had presented before in previous videos was this going to be a game where the Warriors were going to come in with tired legs? The Timberwolves had 5 days to rest since beating the Lakers in five. Sad face. But at the same time, we wanted to see what we got. So far in the playoffs, every single road team has won in game one on the road, which is insane and almost predictable too at this point when it comes to this game. So definitely a game that you kind of hope to see a not so much of the same trend. You kind of wanted to see Minnesota show up um, a little bit more with a sense of urgency, especially knowing that home teams were 0-3 prior to their game one, and also just riding the hype that came with Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves from taking down LeBron James and Luka Doncic. With that being said, let's just talk what we learned so much about this game, Russ. What I'm going to be doing here, real quick, is I'm going to actually go ahead and pull up the stats here just to kind of show the viewers a little bit of what we, have the privilege of kind of get a chance to look into. But, Russ, what did we learn about this game so far?
What we learned here tonight is your boy Russ's prediction here is so far on track. Warriors in four. The brooms are going to be brooming. They're going to be sweeping because you better watch out. Hide your kids, hide your wife because Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield are coming for you, you know? And so who would have guessed Butler and Buddy Hield to be leading the Warriors to I'd say kind of a dominant fashion in this game. Um, I mean, we had Robin turn into Batman and Alfred turn into Robin. And I mean, who would have thought? So let's look at these stats here and let's see what happened here. Vince, tell me what happened here.
Yeah, man. So, a couple things that I kind of noticed here. Early on in the game, you could definitely see that the Wolves seem very flat-footed. Same thing with the Warriors. As we kind of take a look up here, we could see in the first quarter, Minnesota only had 20 points. Golden State only had 18 points. But it was really the second quarter that was really surprising. In the second quarter, the Wolves only managed to score 11 points, which means that for the entire first half, they only had 31 total points compared to the Warriors, who at least managed to get to about, what is that, 44 points? So, again, on the road, this team just seems to be fearless. Even though Jimmy Butler's new, it's almost like it doesn't matter at all. And to me, it's just crazy because as we look at the stat sheet here, one of the things that most people would have predicted or thought could happen in order for the Warriors to win would have to be Steph Curry really going off. Basically, this was a game where, like you said, Steph Curry wasn't even really a factor for the most part, simply because he wasn't available. After 13 minutes of play, he managed to score 13 points, one rebound, one assist, and he was a plus 10 in the plus minus. But unfortunately, he ended up pulling his hamstring. We don't know to what severity this injury is, but at the same time, as somebody who has had a hamstring pull and tear, those are not easy injuries to just overcome and be able to play the same game. And after we saw him kind of, laboring a lot of times, running up and down the court, constantly touching that hamstring area, you could tell that it was clearly bothering him to the point where he wasn't going to be as effective as he wanted to. So he took himself out of the game. But once you got news and word that he wasn't going to be coming back and returning for the remainder of the game, you definitely kind of had a little bit more concerns and worries from there. But even with that being said, all that it showed was the rest of the Warriors really they accepted the challenge. They basically came together as a team collectively, and the starters, I would say, really won this game. Obviously, even though the Warriors have been known for strength in numbers, not really much bench production. Jonathan Kaminga, 7 points, but he was a -9. You got 8 points from Gary Payton, but he's really more the defender that you're looking to get around the perimeter. But really, what I noticed was Draymond Green, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, plus 11. He was a killer. But the story of the last 2 games the Warriors have played has been the Buddy Hield show. I don't know what in the world Buddy Hield has been doing, drinking, whatever it is. He seems to be like Klay Thompson 2.0 at this point, scoring 24 points. He's 5 for 8 from 3, plus 22, which is the best plus minus overall on the team. And you could really feel his impact, especially later in that second half, once they found out that Steph wasn't coming back. There were some timely threes that he made, some really good defensive stops, or at least, sliding his feet on certain Wolf players that were attacking him. He held his ground, and it definitely showed in this game.
Hey, Jonathan Kaminga playing though. I mean, and putting up 7 points in 13 minutes. I mean, Warriors fans got to be like, this is exactly what we were wanting, is a big guy out there, because, oh, go figure, lengthy, tall team needed lengthy players. So we're over here talking about JK, who I don't even think he really sniffed the court during actual important time during the last series against the Rockets, but this is exactly what they want right here. Another player to play and actually put up some points. So it's crazy. Like, okay, yeah, put him in and see what he does. I mean, he's shown that he can play. So, and how many games is Draymond Green going to have more points than Steph Curry? I mean, the man out there was looking like another version of Clay. I mean, I don't know, man. He was shooting threes. He's like found his form again. I don't know where he found it, but the Warriors be looking good. And yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And for a second there, you almost thought that there was a chance that the Timberwolves could come back into this game after seeing the run that they went on later in the second half, but it was just too much Warriors too late. At this point in this stage of the game, it didn't really matter what the Wolves did. They had already dug themselves up in such a deep hole with the way that they started this game that there was no way coming back. I mean, again, when we look at the difference, the real difference was that second and that third quarter is what killed them. 11 points in the second quarter, and then again you get outscored by 7 points in the third quarter. That's ball game. So I just think that the Timberwolves kind of came in very flat-footed. They didn't seem as focused as I had hoped, or I think a lot of us thought that they would. But it is just one game. It is a series for a reason. One of the things I do want to bring up here that I thought really was the key factor here. In our previous video, I had predicted that in terms of the Timberwolves, what I wanted to see from them was I wanted to see, since it was a home game and they had home core, I wanted to see really what we always hear a lot, which is the role players showing up and
Mm-hmm.
performing a lot better at home. I did predict that Nasri was going to have a really good game because of his size and his ability to stretch out on the floor. In this game, he went 3 for 7 from three. He had 19 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. But he was a -5, right? And then I also thought that Dante was going to show up a little bit better. He did have some moments, but overall just wasn't going to be good enough, shooting 3 for 11 from the field. And then defensively, sometimes he looked a little bit lost there. But I think the biggest question that we need to ask here, and this is a question that we need to figure out for the most part. Was this a bad game or a bad sign for Anthony Edwards and the Wolves? The reason why I want to ask this is don't look too deep into this box score. Yes, it does show Anthony Edwards had 23 points, 14 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 assists, 1 block, only a -4. But if you really watch the game, the eye test was telling you he just wasn't in it. By the time he got things going, the rest of the team didn't get it going until he did as well. And he didn't set the tone the way that we honestly expected that he would, especially considering all the chatter, all the talk that we've heard the past couple of days now, not only from him beating the Lakers, but even just him wanting to eventually match up with the Warriors, primarily because of the trash talking from Draymond Green and just adding another a legend on his shelf of recent, teams and players that he's been able to beat in these past two playoffs. But I just thought that, like I said, Anthony Edwards, he didn't really show up the way that I expected him to. And I do think that this is a wake up call for him. And I do expect the Wolves to at least, make an adjustment and show up a little bit more this next go around. But what do you think, Russ? Do you think this was a bad game or a bad sign overall?
Been waiting to say this because it's a bad sign when Draymond Green makes 4 threes in the first half of the game. I mean, that right there is demoralizing. You thought you were gonna have to worry about Steph Curry, and nope, he wasn't in the game. I mean, only for 13 minutes, but it's a pretty short amount of the time in the game. Then you're like, okay, well, I got to worry about Draymond shooting threes. Like that's not who I would have expected. And honestly, like I don't even think they expected Buddy Hield to be the one to shoot 5 of 8 from 3-point range. I mean, his shooting kept the Warriors offense afloat. I mean, Draymond Green's unexpected shooting, just knocking down those threes, finished with 18 points. His ability to stretch the floor disrupted Minnesota's defensive schemes. I mean, and Jimmy Butler's all around impact. I mean, he contributed 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. He's providing that leadership and stability. So I just think it's a bad sign for the Wolves because you can't expect Draymond to continue to do that. But at the same time, you also can't expect Steph Curry to be not playing in the rest of the series. I mean, man, we saw Jimmy Butler literally land on his tailbone from felt like 10 feet up in the air and it fell on it, and we thought he was out. No, I think he missed one game and then was back, and they
Yep.
still won the series. Steph Curry literally did that to his tailbone right before the end of the season too, and it's just like you thought he was going to be out for a little bit, but man, I don't know what they be doing in the locker rooms back there, but they be giving him that juice and they right back out in the court, man. I mean, it's a the worrisome part is okay. Hopefully, Steph Curry's hamstring thing, because like you said, dealing with a hamstring is not easy. It can be a little bit recovery time can be a little bit more. But you would think the tip bone, which is very core to how you're anytime you move, you're basically using your tailbone. So I would think the tailbone would take longer to recover than a hamstring, but I mean, we'll see. Um, that's kind of where this next topic goes into.
Yeah,
And
man.
so
And
feel
just to
free.
just to piggy off what you said, I mean that really is going to be the defining question for not only this series but for the rest of the playoffs because like I said, unless you guys have actually personally experienced the agonizing pain that you feel when you do something to your hamstring, you really don't know how bad it is. So, I've actually pulled my hamstring 3 different occasions, all 3 different times. And I'm more curious to know what level of pain and what exactly did he feel with his hamstring, because if it's just a minor strain, I do think that with proper rest, proper icing, low maintenance in terms of moving and whatnot, he'll be okay. But at the same time, if it's one of those situations where he felt a pop, which I think, like I said, if you've ever actually pulled your hamstring before, if you've felt the sensation or you've heard the sensation of a pop in your hamstring, I'm sorry, but I mean, I don't know what kind of medicine the NBA has, but I'm telling you right now, we're looking at an injury that's gonna last at least a couple weeks, maybe even a month plus. It's one of the most painful injuries, only from the simple fact that you don't realize how often you use your hamstring until you do hurt it. Like even just common things like sitting on the plane or sitting in a chair, or even stretching your legs out just by the little bit, it is so painful. So that's definitely an injury we're going to be paying attention to for sure. Because obviously, if Steph Curry's not going to be good to go, he's not going to be, you know, what he needs to be. Nobody's 100%, but Curry has been so phenomenal in the playoffs so far, despite the injury he's already had to his hand. That now, if you're adding another injury on top of that, it's hard to think that he's going to be able to overcome that at this point. But just to move on real quick here, what I want to ask you real quick, just because obviously I know how you feel about the Warriors. You think they're going to sweep the Wolves. I get that, but I want to know your true inside take specifically on the Wolves. At this point, what do you think needs to change for the Wolves in order for them to get back in the series after going down 1-0 and now no longer having home court advantage against the Warriors?
What I think is they can't shoot 12 for 76 from the 3-point line in the last two games, which granted one of them was against the Lakers in game 5. But this one was in game 1 against the Warriors. The Wolves got to understand that Steve Kerr played a zone defense, is from what I remember. Um, I mean, they got to understand that how are they going to work around that? Because, if it's not going to be man to man, they got to be making sure that they are able to, get the ball to somebody and somebody make the quick read and cut and pass the ball, because um, too much standing around is going to lead to a stagnant offense and not enough scoring, which is why you see them only scoring 88 points, which the Warriors have actually done 2 to 3 times against the Rockets in that last series. And so, I mean, that's a recipe for success. If you can keep your team, your opponent under 90 points, that's definitely going to get you a win. And so I just think that obviously Anthony Edwards needs to have more aggressiveness in the game, because what he needs to do is he needs to take over. He needs to do what LeBron James told him, is take it to the next level. And you got to be able to dominate the game and make sure that you are the focal point. I don't care if you're not scoring, you got to be facilitating that ball around, and that ball's got to move. I mean, the Wolves have to get back to playing physical. And maybe, this is a maybe the Wolves who were the ones who did the punching in game 1 against the Lakers, punched him in the mouth. Now the Warriors are the ones, or maybe Draymond's the one punching people in the mouths and getting physical with them and showing them, hey, this ain't the Lakers. We're a little bit more physical, and we're gonna be able to push you around. So it's just the Wolves need to get back into that physicality mindset.
Absolutely. And you make a very compelling point here as we look at the stat sheet here. Look at the difference. You can see the Warriors were 42.9% from three. They had 18 threes compared to the Wolves, who went 17% and went 5 for 29. And for a moment, I felt early on in the game, I actually kind of felt like the Wolves, like this was more of a game where the Wolves lost it versus the Warriors took it. Like what I mean by that is this easily could have been a game where if the Wolves had went with the mentality that you just talked about, being physical, being dominant in the paint, just little stuff like that, instead of trying to play in some ways in the hands of the Warriors, although they didn't take a lot of threes, if you really paid attention to the game overall, the threes that they were taking were not really the best. They seemed kind of forced, especially Anthony Edwards. I understand that he's a great overall
He was
player. And this season, he's had really good stats in terms of his 3-point percentage, and he's also made a
he was
lot of
number 1
threes.
in the league.
Exactly. But I think that he's fallen in love too much with the three in terms of just taking a three versus getting an open three that was created within the flow of the offense, getting, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
getting the ball to touch other players often will find you and help you go from a good play to a great play. That's usually what coaches always preach. Don't just create the shot for yourself. You need to sometimes sacrifice the good play for the great play because that's going to often result in a higher percentage that you're going to make. But as we look here, dead even for the most part, free throw attempts. I mean, with Jimmy Butler being the one of the last remaining free throw merchants left in the playoffs, I honestly expected the free throws would go more on the Warriors side, but the fact that it was for the most part pretty dead even, I give that, that was pretty good. Field goal percentage was actually again dead even once again, but here's the weird thing that kind of I was like, what the heck am I looking at? The Warriors had 51 rebounds compared to the Timberwolves who had 41. If I'm not mistaken, isn't there a 7'2", 7'3" center on the Timberwolves team, or is it the Warriors? Because last time I checked, the story of this whole, matchup between the Wolves and the Warriors was that the Wolves really needed to dominate with their size, just like you said. This is a great example that they clearly did not dominate with their size. They gave up 18 offensive rebounds to the Warriors, and then they were out rebounded by 10. And then, of course, assists was 26 to 19, which is not terrible, but at the same time, it doesn't really help because that just goes to show again, you weren't passing the ball around as much or as effective as you could have to get better looks. And then the biggest thing is, although, they weren't really rebounding the best, the Warriors, they just kind of did what the Warriors do. They shoot a lot. They had wide open looks, and that's really the story of the game. I mean, the Timberwolves, the best thing that they did for themselves was they had 52 points in the paint compared to the 28. But at the same time, that's not a big enough gap when your 3-point, difference is so big overall. You're talking about 5 compared to 18. That's 13 different threes, which is a 39-point swing. And yes, I did do that in my head. I'm really good at math, boys and girls. But like I said, this is one of those situations where I think the Wolves, they just need to show up. They need to wake up. They need to understand that this is not the Lakers. You're not going to, you know, bully the Lakers like you did, or bully the Warriors like you did the Lakers. This is a different type of team. You got to put respect on them. They're a championship team that have played collectively for quite a while. Even though Jimmy Butler's new to the squad, he still is battle tested. He has literally taken the Miami Heat to the championship twice in the last 5 years that he was with them. I think that they'll be okay. But
Yeah.
moving on to the next
One
thing,
thing
real quick. Yeah, go
one
ahead.
thing before you actually move on, I really wanted to make a point is that the horrendous 3-point shooting from Minnesota, the 5 for 29 performance from deep, was kind of a major factor in the loss because it did a couple things here. They couldn't buy a bucket from outside, which allowed Golden State to pack the paint. And so it's really smart of Steve Kerr to notice that. It can be a gamble sometimes because if that starts picking up, then it works against you. But since they weren't making threes and Steve Kerr noticed that, they changed the game plan to pack the paint so that meant, okay, they're not going to make it from three. You're just going to let them shoot it. And when they go into the paint, you're going to have a lot of, bodies in there. And Anthony Edwards can't have 1 point in the first half. If you're that guy, you can't have 1 point in the first half. You got to start out aggressive and get going early. Yeah, you finished with 23, but the thing is what would happen if you actually bit like, bro, you're aggressive. You're dunking. Like, you're the guy. You're not afraid of anything. So are you trying to get your teammates involved, or because you got to be aggressive. You got to start the game just shooting some shots. What's it going to hurt? Um, so his early struggles is what put Minnesota in a hole that they couldn't climb out of. And then also the turnovers and poor execution is what allowed Golden State's defensive schemes to really shine through. So Minnesota's going to need to fix their shooting and adjust their offense, and hopefully Golden State, Steph Curry is actually able to play in game two because another one of those things that we were just talking about. with the Cavs and the injury, and I thought we were gonna have a different story. I know a different team, but we'll go into that later. But I just really hope that this isn't gonna be a series where we're gonna have to worry about another injury. So please, basketball gods, give us what we're looking
Please,
for in this matchup,
please,
and just give us
please,
a healthy Steph Curry, man. It's not even fair at this
please.
point.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely great point. With that being said, man, I gotta ask you, my guy. So, Russ, you still got Warriors at 4?
Hey, man, all bets are if things are healthy. If Steph Curry can't play, clearly the Warriors can still beat the Wolves, which is kind of sad if you think about it. I mean, if you got Draymond Green out there shooting 4 threes and a half, you're in trouble. But Warriors in 4, if Steph Curry doesn't play, I might
What
have
you
to
got
change my
then?
pick. But if he misses one game, which is basically this game, if he misses the second game, shoot, and they win again, I mean, how can you not say Warriors in 4? But yeah, I still got Warriors in 4. I'm
Okay,
confident
man.
in
Hey,
my
you know
pick.
what? You know what? I'll give you respect for keeping your pick integrity. Most people would, bail out, especially after seeing an injury like that. But let's
You were
see.
looking
Let's
at me
see, man.
crazy yesterday too. You were looking at me crazy.
Hey, is one game. This is a series. I said Wolves in 6. So technically, this is just one of the two games the Warriors were supposed to win. We'll see who's
They
right in the end, but I'm just saying.
they lost at home. The Lakers couldn't even beat the Wolves at home at their place. So this
Yeah,
is this is smelling
it's
trouble,
very
but
interesting.
it's going to be interesting for sure.
Oh yeah. Yep. All right, man. I thought of this one towards the end, and then we'll end the video on this one. But if you recall earlier in the season, well, not early, but I would say like 2-3 months ago, right? Just when they got Jimmy Butler, Draymond was on TNT, and he had made a very bold prediction, and he had predicted that the Warriors were going to win the championship this year. So Mr. Russ, you obviously have the Warriors coming out on a sweep against the Timberwolves, right? That means that these Warriors would be also making it to the conference finals to play up against either the Denver Nuggets or the Oklahoma City Thunder. With that being said, do you think that Draymond's prediction is going to come to fruition?
No, because I don't think that the Wolves or the Warriors are a better team than the Nuggets or the Thunder. Now, the Nuggets really have changed my opinion on, thinking that they were kind of letting this season go with cutting their most winningest head coach in their franchise history. We kind of all thought that was kind of like, oh, well, they're going to give away this season, so we're going to see how that goes. But I mean, because like they had a flat tire, they had no oil in the tank, they had no gas in the tank, they barely had windshield wiper fluid to finish the season. But man, they were fumbling, but they ended up coming up clutch in this freaking playoffs, man. And Aaron Gordon is trying to get Russ a ring, and I just don't see the Warriors being better than the Nuggets. It's hard to beat Jokic when he's playing like that against the Thunder, and I think the Thunder are better than the Warriors and Wolves. So I don't think he's right, but in the next year or two, it's definitely a higher probability because then they can work around with some more pieces around the Warriors. Because shoot, man, it don't matter who you got on the Warriors as long as you got Steph Curry, you got a chance, and you got Draymond and Jimmy Butler, and shoot, you even got Buddy Hield at this point.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. I agree with you on that one. I do think that this is a very valiant effort Warriors team. If you look at the beginning of the season, they were not really doing much. But as soon as they got Jimmy Butler, I mean, they literally climbed all the way to I think as close to like the 5 seed at one point. Yes, they ended up having to play in the play-in, but I mean, one could argue that was like in their benefit because they played a very young and inexperienced Rockets team that just was not ready to take that next leap.
Mhm.
And it just it's one of those things where Warriors. I definitely think that, like you said, in the next year or two, they are a few pieces away. Am very interested to see what they're going to end up doing with Jonathan Kaminga. Obviously, he's not really on their value list now that they have Jimmy Butler. They may look to shop him around in the offseason to get a much better, consistent cast of players, maybe, coming off the bench or better role players that can be complementary to Draymond, Steph, and Jimmy moving forward. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that the Nuggets, like, it's one thing to play against the Timberwolves in their size compared to the Nuggets in their size because Rudy Gobert, although he looked like Rudy Chamberlain against the Lakers in that game 5, one could argue that against this Warriors team, that's not going to fly because they have so much better perimeter shooting, and Draymond, again, I don't understand this man. Like, he's 6'7", but he plays so much bigger than his actual size. Like, you understand more and more as you really watch the game why he was always in consideration for defensive player of the year. You may not like his antics, you may not like the way that he plays, you know, questionably dirty from time to time, but he gets wins. He does the dirty work. He does what he needs to do in order to get his team wins. And time again, I just see him really show up and show out on the defensive end primarily, but then you get these offensive spurts that we've been noticing when he really needs to show up. Um, on the other end of the court, it's almost refreshing if you're a Warriors fan to be able to see Draymond do both of the same, both offense and defense. It kind of reminds you of Draymond of the old, back in 2015, 2016, when arguably when they won the championship in 2015, or even I think 2016, if it didn't go to game 7, Draymond was on, a trajectory to possibly win the finals MVP. But with that being said, that is going to conclude the video. We are definitely in for a very interesting series. Personally, I don't think that the Warriors are going to sweep. I have too much respect for the Wolves. I do have respect for Anthony Edwards. I just think that this is one of those games that, with 5 days off, I don't know what's going on maybe outside the court. Maybe it was one of those things where he just wasn't as focused. He is still young. He's only 23, and he is the leader of the team. And I think this is still his arc of developing into
Mhm.
truly what we're going to see for years to come. It's just going to take a little bit of time. But I do think he's going to reflect on this game. He's going to see how he needed to probably start a lot more with force, the same way that he started in game 1 against the Lakers. If you want to beat the Warriors, if you want to take the crown from Steph, you can't just wait for it to come. You have to go get it, just like you did against LeBron and Luca. But with that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, hit a
Wait,
like,
hold on.
make a comment,
Oh,
hit subscribe, and make sure you turn the notifications on, please. One of the things that we've noticed, you guys, is if you guys enjoy watching the videos, for the most part, your boy's been doing you guys a favor by sending you the content via text, email, whatever. Please hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on so that you can keep up with any future videos that we make. But I'll go ahead and let Russ finish the video out, and then we'll end it there.
you say you got too much respect for the Wolves, right?
Mhm.
When the Wolves haven't done anything to ever make you believe that they should be given the respect.
They made the Western Conference Finals last year.
But that doesn't mean anything, though.
What you
The thing
mean?
is the thing is what you're saying is they're not allowed to be swept. Just because you don't want to say it, but doesn't mean it's not possible. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, this is the second round. This isn't the first round. It is more possible and probable that a
Mhm.
team in the first round will get swept than a team in the second round getting swept. Look at the Boston and the Knicks series. A lot of people predicted, oh, the Knicks might get swept. The Knicks might get gentlemen
Mhm.
swept. We don't really know. It's still possible. It's on the board because they only won one game. But I'm just
Mhm.
saying, we got to put a lot more respect on the teams that go into the second round compared to the first round because every team that's in the second round arguably is the best. And I actually saw something very unique earlier today, with the exception to the Warriors. both on the East and the West side, every team that's in the playoffs remaining in the second round was in the second round last season. The only difference is the Mavericks. The Mavericks obviously got replaced by the Warriors, but every other single team that's in the second round right now, they were just in the playoffs in the second round last season. So
Right.
to me, I didn't see any sweeping situations last season. I don't want to think that there's going to be one this season.
Yeah.
And I just want to put a little bit more respect on the Timberwolves because, like I said, they were the underdog against the Lakers. They should have never been. And right now,
Yeah.
they're the favorites against the Warriors. I mean, one could say they shouldn't be, one could say they should be. We don't know. But I just want to see better
Yeah.
competition out of them, and I want to see a better sense of urgency.
I mean, the thing is here, Kobe Bryant was swept in the playoffs against the Dallas Mavericks in 2011 and the Spurs in 2013. Now, I'm sure people put respect on his name, but it still happened. Did we think KD and Kyrie in Brooklyn was going to get swept in the first round against the Celtics? I want to say 2023. I don't think so. Did we think LeBron and AD, and at the time we didn't know too much. We just thought, oh, it's D'Lo, it's Bando, it's a couple other players. Did we think they were going to get swept against the Nuggets back in 2023? No, we didn't. But it happened. And so I think this is just another one of those cases where the Wolves haven't done anything. All the other teams that I did mention have won a chip. So, but I'm going to conclude this with my son waking up. So to end this, have a good night. Peace.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Russ and Vince Courtside Podcast, where we bring you the hottest NBA moments, discussions, and everything in between. If you like today's show, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a Courtside Podcast again.